Good news to you, and welcome to The Perspective, a show and a program that is looking to bring a three-dimensional understanding of our world compared to the two-dimensional world the world would want you to know or believe. It is very important for us to actually understand what is happening in the world through the lens of Scripture and the end times which we are living in. And I want to thank my man of God, Prophet Uebert, because of the insight which he continually gives to us as to the timeline and what is happening around the world based on the knowledge of the Word of God and what God is saying. And we've got a lot to digest here today because we've got a prophetic word which was given by our man of God, Prophet Uebert, saying, London, the United Kingdom, Britain, or Great Britain being colonized without a shot fired. And you are going to see it right here today. So I'm here today with our panelists. As usual, we are very much excited because we are talking about Great Britain here. Great Britain.
That's right.
Taken over, colonized without a shot fired. It's going to be exciting. So Executive Pastor Moses, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, SG. Actually, it's an honor and a great privilege to be
That's
on
right.
this set, always, on The Perspective. Okay, it's important to look at the issues and current events from a different angle, especially this one we are talking about, United Kingdom being taken over without a shot and fire.
That's right,
Which is
yeah.
very much prophetic
Yes.
from our man of God, the highest in Prophet Uebert. So I dearly, our dear man of God, I so much honor and appreciate him because he has taught us a lot. And
right.
as much as possible to bring alive a biblical, realities in end times from the perspective and the prophetic word that he declares. And we see the reality happen before our very eyes. So it's really going to be something that we can digest today,
That's right.
knowing
That's right.
that there's a prophetic word that has been fulfilled, So thank you
so much.
Thank
Thank you so much for that. Executive Pastor Bevan, welcome.
Thank you so much, Secretary General, sir. Good news to you, my executive.
Oh,
It is always a privilege and an honor, to be here and chew on the
Yes.
world events. And this one really is, it breaks my heart.
Oh,
It
yes.
breaks my heart. But
Yes.
I'm grateful to our man of God, the highly esteemed Prophet Uebert, for sounding the alarm as always. And he did warn us that, look, Britain has been taken over. It's been colonized without a single shot fired. This is modern day colonialism.
Yes, yes,
So,
yes.
but it really, really breaks my heart to see everything that is unfolding every day, and the pace and the rate at which it's taking place.
being
it
chipped
seems to
in
be
every
just
day.
increasing every
Yes,
day, every day.
yes.
So, but it's never too late as long as we are still here. We are the restrainers.
That's right.
So I'm
That's
really
right.
excited.
That's right. Thank you so very much for that, Executive. And please take this time to invite somebody. Let somebody know. Share this particular broadcast. The Perspective is here. And we're talking about Great Britain here. Great Britain
right.
being colonized without a single shot
shot
fired.
fired.
And if you look at it, there's been wars after wars, and some countries having to try to liberate themselves from the bondage of Britain, of Great Britain. And a lot of people killed when nations were trying to take themselves out of the grip of the United Kingdom, colonizing the African countries and around the world, different countries and islands
Absolutely.
all over the world.
Every continent.
But look at it now, executive pastors,
Yeah.
that Britain itself is being colonized and it is being sold by our very leaders. The
right.
leaders are actually selling the country.
That's right.
And it's being taken over by foreign countries.
That's right.
It looks like there's nothing happening to somebody who would think like, you are just saying something. But today we're going to show you beyond proof of what is happening in the United Kingdom and how it's already impacting lives here in the United Kingdom. I'll tell you this. Over the past 4 weeks, my kids have been coming back from school almost every day, like upset. You're talking about kids, upset, saying, you know what, Dad, today we're actually learning about Islam. Almost every day. When I'm saying every day, like literally every day, coming back from school saying, we were learning about Islam. And one of the things which we normally tell them is, if they actually tell you to say something in Islam, don't
That's right.
say it back. Because there's always that tendency of actually saying, oh, you are going to repeat after me and say this and say this. And imagine that you are taking your kid to Sunday school. And meanwhile, somebody else, a teacher who's not even qualified to teach in the areas of religion
right.
or have even a better understanding of what they are really doing in somebody's life, they are busy inviting demonic forces into your house. And you're wondering what is happening to your children simply because somebody has actually taught them something to say in Islam. The funny part is when it comes to Islam, they'll bring people who are Islam to come and teach in
That's right.
schools. And when it comes to Christianity, they don't.
So, yeah,
It's actually the teachers.
Yeah.
that's right.
You know, why is it like that? Because there's an agenda that is taking place. And we are here to try to expose that. That is what is happening. And if you have got your child, maybe there, I'm sure right now, there are so many, especially those in the United Kingdom, there are so many parents.
Yeah.
If you were asking your children on a daily basis, they would tell you that almost every day now, they've been learning Islam. So there's a lot. There's a wave that is taking place. Why? Because they believe that get them while they are still
So
young.
That's right.
And try to poison their mind, put their minds. My child is a Christian because they're actually coming from a Christian family. So why then should we bring them? Why should you actually bring in, introduce them into something which they do not believe in? You see? And trying to actually make them doubt the Christianity which they've actually received from their parents. I'll tell you what one teacher said to my daughter. One of the teachers said, oh, maybe it's simply because you are not a Christian. Maybe it's because your parents believed for you. Why are you bringing that to a child who has actually come to school? Yeah, you're trying to sow the seeds of doubt in the life of a child so that you can open them up to all the nonsense. So I'm really not happy with this. I'm really not happy with what's happening in the United Kingdom, what is happening in the schools, what is happening in government, what is happening in so many different companies, corporations. There is a lot that is taking place. So I just want to open this to the panelists here to actually quickly share what we understand is happening in the United Kingdom.
Yeah, it's somehow difficult because if you look at it this way, even looking at the population of the Muslim community,
Yes.
okay, the 2021 census, it puts it that at least up to 6.5% of the population,
Yes.
both in England and Wales, they identify themselves as Muslims. It means still that at least let's just put it this way, over 90% of the population, they are still non-Muslims. Okay. So, but if you look at how vocal this minority group, which is just 6.5% of the population has been, and the influence they have in politics, the influence they have even in the social sphere of what is happening in the United Kingdom is shocking. You know, because as you were rightly putting it, even when it comes to the educational sector, where we were talking, I think on one of our perspective programs, where the offset leader is a Muslim,
A mufti.
A mufti, really grounded and schooled in Sharia law. And imagine he's the one that one of those taking the key decisions when it comes to the curriculum.
education.
Yeah, the education and what's supposed to be taught in the schools. So it's not a coincidence to see that in the schools, Muslims, you know, or religion is kind of dominating because you are penetrated all the way to the top. So for kids to be taught Muslim things that they don't understand, it's shocking. But that remains the focus of what we are discussing today, that the country itself is being taken over without a shot being fired. Because it is not only taking over from the political standpoint by Muslim actors, you know, because if you look at even the mayors, for most of the cities, London, Birmingham, Luton, I mean, you can name it, they are there.
More Muslim politicians are in power than ever before. In 2024, Naz Shah took her oath as a member of parliament, swearing on the Quran, not the Bible, and she is not alone. Several key city leaders are now Muslim. London Mayor Sadiq Khan, Leeds Lord Mayor Abigail Marshall Khatong, Blackburn Mayor Parwaiz Akhtar, Oxford Lord Mayor Lubna Arshad, Luton Mayor Tamina Salim, Oldham Mayor Zahid Chauhan, Rochdale Mayor Shakil Ahmed. Policies are changing. Islamic holidays gaining official recognition, Sharia-compliant financial services expanding, and multicultural initiatives being funded at unprecedented levels. And with this shift in leadership comes a shift in priorities. A significant percentage of Muslims in the UK rely on state support, free housing, welfare benefits, and government assistance. Many families, often with 3, 5, or even 8 children, receive taxpayer-funded accommodations. The burden on Britain's welfare system is mounting, yet very few politicians dare to ask the tough questions.
So they are there. then if you now come to decision making and policies, even within the council, they are there. So it means that the impact is not limited only to the schools, but equally to the entire community.
Yes.
So we see that the takeover is happening. When the skeptics and other people who would just say, well, this is being overblown, will
That's
be
right.
thinking
That's right.
differently. But the
That's right.
reality, the facts, contrast whatsoever so-called, we think that is a conspiracy, theory. It's not. This is not conspiracy theory. This is something that a reality that is happening in the UK
Yes.
that we see. And I believe we will see how it are crept into the parliament, which is the higher decision-making body that influencing the entire country.
That's
So
right.
these things, when they are happening, obviously, as we say from the beginning, is the prophetic word being fulfilled before our very eyes.
Yes.
Those who live in Britain, you got to listen to this. The angel began to whisper to my ears and said, without one shot fired, Britain has lost ground.
Wow.
It is a spiritual war that they have not seen, that they have lost.
Wow.
He said, with not a shot fired, with no bomb blasting, they've been taken over.
Wow.
Colonized without a shot fired. Colonized by a religion.
And we have to take heed that when the prophet of God, Prophet Uebert, when he speaks these things, we have to see that these things surely will come to pass.
Yes.
And the realities are there. The indicators are there. The evidence there. So there's no denying that the prophetic word is really coming to pass before our very eyes. But it's important for us to know that actually this country is being taken over without a shot being fired.
It's actually playing with fire. The United Kingdom is literally playing with fire. If you look at it this way, I think it's simply because there's that whole thing of actually thinking that Islam is actually a mindset, whereas it's not.
It's not.
It's not a philosophy.
No.
It is actually a religion. And the difference between Christianity, if I were to put it that way, and Islam, or rather the politics, if we were to put it that way, the difference between Islam, because they're dealing with the Islamic people at a political level or with a political understanding, whereas you're dealing with people who are dealing with afterlife here.
That's right. That's right.
That's what they're dealing with. People are dealing with the afterlife. So the agenda is not a political one.
No.
It is actually a religious one.
That's right.
And that is why, like what you're saying, they've managed to put themselves in places of power.
Yes.
In London, in Birmingham, in all these other cities, where they've actually, we've got mayors who are actually quite vocal. And do you think that they're going to be standing for Christianity there? No. It becomes very difficult for churches to actually even get planning permissions to actually convert even some buildings to become churches. It becomes very difficult.
That's right.
And look at it this way. Why would you actually leave your own country and then come to a Christian country? And then you start trying to force them to exercise
Your religion.
your own religion. Right now, we're not seeing anybody leaving United Kingdom going to Saudi Arabia and becoming an
You'll be in jail.
MP there.
You'll be in jail.
And you'll be in prison.
Oh no! What? An MP? No. If you look at you don't even need to go far. Just go at the popular tourist destination in Dubai. There, when you get there, you get out from your plane, you get into the terminal, all the way till you get to your hotel, wherever you're staying. You will see that as you come out, all the service staff, they are foreigners.
Yes.
You get to immigration, that's Emiratis.
Only.
And you see the police officers, that's them. And then you get in a taxi, that's a foreigner.
Yes.
So certain parts in government,
It's
anything to do
already
with the
set.
government, you will never get in there.
Yeah.
No matter how long whether you're born there, but no, it's exclusive to them. And yet here we bend over backwards trying to accommodate everybody.
MPs,
And
Prime
all the
ministers.
way to the top.
Yeah.
So you see, there is that. It's almost like as if we're on a
just open.
self-destructive path. And like what you were saying, and I remember the prophet has always been, pushing this for years and years to say, Christians, we need to get into positions of power.
Yes.
You need to get into positions. Go for it. Run for it, being a councillor. Run for being a mayor. Run for MP. Run for this because it is important. These guys have been doing this for years.
Yes.
Now they've infiltrated the system that now they are the ones, when you enter your form on your computer, they're the ones who are now saying yes or no. So when you get a property and you want to convert it to your D1 category for a church, for a place of worship, they'll say, oh, Christian, no, you can't use this one.
Yeah.
But yet you have cathedrals.
Yes.
Right now, even the Church of England does not allow them to be sold
They
to
are law,
another
yeah.
Christian
To another
religion.
If their
But-
if their congregation depletes in a particular place and they decide that we are not going to continue with our services, that property or that church, that cathedral, they say it should not be sold to Christians.
Yeah, it can be used for another church, but it can be turned into a club or it can be turned into a mosque. Right now, that's what's taking place. They're being converted into mosques.
Christianity is also being attacked, with historic churches being converted into mosques.
You'll be excused to think that this is a church, but as is the case across the UK, we've took it over. It's now actually a mosque, a masjid. Christianity is depleting, atheism is unfulfilling, Islam is here and is here to stay.
And you think, this is iconic. This is a Christian country. That's the history of Christianity
That's right.
Yes.
in this country.
Yes.
And
That's
it's
the
being
culture.
surrendered. Yeah, that's the culture. That is what makes Britain. But that's been surrendered now. And and the Muslims, you can blame them. They're like, they're taking them, snapping them up.
Exactly.
And they're bragging about it too.
But look at it this way, executive. Look at this.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about the cathedrals. You're talking about, there is a video which we want to show you right now of what is happening in the parliament.
Yeah.
It's one thing to actually, you can talk about schools.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's almost as if it's on a self-destruction path.
Yeah.
Because when you have the leader, the prime minister, opening the doors and I've never seen that happen for a Christian school, a group of Christian kids say, oh yeah, we'll give you a tour.
Yes.
No, we're opening up and opening in the corridors of power, in the highest corridors of power in the nation. And you are now introducing something that is anti what the country was founded on.
That's right. The prayer, rather even an imam invited to come and lead prayer in parliament.
That's a takeover.
That's a takeover.
Obviously.
That's
Because
how far it goes.
Whenever, in fact, you remind me. Just recently, a few weeks ago, we had a couple of conferences in Toronto and in New York, and with Uebert Angel Jr. this year. And as we were going there, he said something. It's like, no, we have a mandate. We are going there to colonize, spiritually colonize.
Yes.
So before you do it in the natural, you do it in the spiritual. So now when you have somebody coming in and now releasing their prayers in the corridors of power, what
are you inviting there?
What are you opening your doors to?
What are you inviting there?
There's more to it that's taking place then.
A lot is already taking place.
Indeed. And even if you look at it this way, the demographic shifts, that is happening. When it even comes to the birth rates, though people will be saying it's modest.
Yes.
But if you look at the Muslim community as compared to the Europeans, the birth rate, they are giving, there's more, towards that particular, setup. As opposed to the European side. So it's important that with time, you will see that the build up, even in population growth and demographics, if it start to change, there will be a shift. And these people already, with that percentage, they are controlling some key positions in power.
Yes.
And going towards the parliament, as you say, where the call to prayer is being ordered by the prime minister. So you see the level of influence and takeover. Then it's being backed up also by the demographics, by the change in population growth. And gradually, by the time we realize it, and I think some of the parliamentarians begin to realize that this thing, if we are not careful in the long run, they will definitely take over. Already the alarm has been signaled by our Prophet Uebert, but the reality on the ground now,
They have already taken over, because look at it this way. There's a statement which says you can tell a man by the company. You can tell the character of
company
man by the
keeps.
Yeah.
by the character of by the company of people whom he keeps
keeps,
around it.
yeah.
Yes.
Look at it right now. Who the prime minister, the people he associates himself the most.
Yeah.
And usually Labour has actually been known for being anti-Semite.
Mm.
And so now if you are inviting this
Yeah.
type of belief,
Yeah.
which is constantly at loggerheads against Israel,
Mm.
are you not literally giving them more confidence now
Mm.
and more
More
you know,
ammunition.
more
Yeah,
ammunition?
It's amazing. The video that you showed that you played just before earlier
Yes.
with you have the prime minister sympathizing and empathizing
Yes.
with the crisis that is taking place right now between Israel and Gaza. It is amazing that when you look at mainstream media, you always hear on the Palestinian side.
Yeah.
It's like
They forget
sympathize
how it started.
yeah, so they forget how it started, and we sympathize. Every life is precious before the
Yes.
the eyes of the Lord,
Mm.
and sympathizing with the orphans and all the destruction that is taking place. But hang on, this could have stopped before it even started.
Yeah.
Yes.
All they had to do was to release the hostages.
Yeah.
Because
Mm.
that's the reason why Israel is going in there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So to just say, okay, release the hostages, and then this thing stops.
Mm.
So it doesn't need to. We can't look at the symptoms without looking at the results. If in medicine you don't just look at the symptoms, you've got to look at the cause
Yeah.
Yes.
of what is bringing about that disease.
That's
So
right.
that you
That's
treat the
right.
disease rather than the symptoms.
Yeah.
That's right.
But it doesn't seem to be that way. So it's almost like, okay, it's an emotional manipulation, if so to say,
Yes.
where
yes.
you are
Yes.
painting one as a victim and painting another as an aggressor.
Yes.
Whereas,
yes.
why is the situation like that?
No.
So
That's right, that's right.
It's
That's right.
It's
And
really
so there is a lot. Look at it. Just recently, have a look at this video where one of the schools have actually banned Easter.
oh
Yeah, they've actually banned Easter. And whereas Easter is part of the British culture.
that's,
That's
right.
right.
Why?
Christian
Because Britain is founded on Christian
Christian
principles.
values.
Yes.
Judeo-Christian, beliefs.
Yeah.
And so now, if a school is actually coming and saying, we're not going to be celebrating Easter this time, the prayers which you normally do during Easter, we're not doing them. Why are we not doing them? No, we think that it's not
It's
good for
offensive.
it's offensive to other religions. So now you are going to stop your religion.
Yeah.
If I were to use that word, rather you're going to stop your belief. You're going to stop what you normally do as your culture.
That's
simply
right.
because you want to impress
Another person.
your neighbor.
Yeah.
All right, let's watch it.
Have a look at it.
Good evening to you. Thank you for your company. Hope you had a good day. I've been a journalist for 15 years and have been lucky enough to travel the world reporting on all sorts of stories. But I don't think I've ever been left quite as gobsmacked about a story as I have today. And it takes me a lot to get rattled. A primary school in England has reportedly scrapped Easter celebrations and services in order to respect other religions and diversity. They've cancelled Easter. But get this, they're still celebrating Refugee Week instead. Norwood Primary School in Eastleigh, Hampshire, sent a letter to parents and carers informing them that neither their Easter bonnet parade nor their Easter service would be held this year. The letter explained that this was because of the state school's, quote, respect for diversity. It said, by not holding specific religious celebrations, we aim to create a more inclusive atmosphere that honours and respects the beliefs of all our children and their families. It went on. We understand that this change may be disappointing for some, especially those who have cherished these traditions over the years. However, we believe that this decision aligns with our values of inclusivity and respect for diversity. We are exploring alternative ways to celebrate the season in future years that will be inclusive of all the children and reflects the rich cultural diversity of our community. And unbelievably, the letter added that the school planned to celebrate Refugee Week in June. Yes, Refugee Week. Further down the page, as you can see here on your screen, there are multiple PDF documents about previous assemblies held at the school. Let's go through them, shall we? At the top, we have Year of the Dog, celebrating Chinese New Year. Then the Hindu Festival of Holi, a healthy eating and well-being assembly just beneath that. One for Islam's Ramadan, one for the royal wedding, another Islamic celebration with Eid. Just below that, then giving to charity. There's a China visit, another Hindu festival of Diwali, and finally at the bottom there, the Jewish festival of Hanukkah. I can't see Easter anywhere. Where is Lent? Where is Christmas? Now, I've approached the school tonight and we've asked them for comment, and we're still awaiting their response. They'd argue, of course, as I've covered, that this has been done to support inclusion and diversity, but I suggest it seems every faith is tolerated and included, apart from the very faith this country was built on.
So that you see from that video the political and cultural influence that is happening in the UK.
That's
and
right.
that influence is being escalated to the extent that the educational system, because you're talking about children being given the fundamental and as they grow up so that they become, people that will take responsibility in society. But now they have been taught that this one that you normally do, which of course reinforce the Christian backbone
Yes.
of this nation or of this kingdom, is now eroded to the extent that they completely stop it. In other
yes,
words,
yes.
as time goes, this will not be happening in almost all the schools, and eventually what happened? It erodes the cultural fabric when it comes to Christianity being the bedrock of this place, United Kingdom.
Yes, yes,
It
yes.
won't exist anymore. And who knows? Because it could be eventually replaced by
Yes.
another religion, because there are vacuum that are
Well, right now they're
exist.
pushing towards
and
rolling out Sharia law.
A new law. There's a new law which we were talking about earlier on.
Angela Rayner has actually introduced a department in government
Yes,
that just focuses on Islamophobia.
a council.
A council. So imagine, you know what? It's a bit like what analogy can I use? It's a bit like, all right, I see you by the roadside. I'm driving, and I give you a lift, and you get in my vehicle. And you get in there and you start saying, oh, I don't like this music. Can you turn it off? I turn it off. Oh, it's too
hot
cold
here.
in here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's too hot. Can you turn the temperature
I don't like your
down?
speed. Reduce your speed.
Reduce your speed.
Yeah.
Hang on. You're the one who came into
I
mine.
give you my snacks and say, no. These are not cooked nicely.
Yeah. And so I'm bending constantly
Yeah.
until
That's right.
you lose your own identity in your own
Exactly.
environment.
Eventually.
And that's the whole thing, really, when it comes to some of these, this particular religion.
Yeah.
You give them one thing, it does not stop there.
No, it's
They
never
come
enough.
back to demand.
But
Somebody
this
will-
is a wake-up call.
Exactly. But then you see, this wake-up call is in so many different ways. It's like Britain is out for sale.
Yeah.
That's right.
And look at what is happening. What is happening? Right now, we can be talking about what is happening in the area of Islam. Islam is not a political thing. It is a religion.
Yeah.
And that people are dealing with after death here.
Yeah.
Afterlife. People are actually trying to sort their afterlife. And so you will deal with them based on politics, but they are beyond that. It's not political. It's a religious organization. And it's not like everybody who's coming from the Middle East
No.
is Muslim.
No.
They are Arabs.
Different.
But the problem is when we deal with them, the politicians, when they're dealing with them, they say Islam.
Yeah, which is a
They are not
minority.
referring. Yeah, they are not referring to the race. Islam is not a race.
No.
It is a religion.
That's right.
And people need to actually understand that.
That's
because
right.
they keep on going like that as
That's
if
right.
it is actually a race of people
Yeah,
who are
that's
actually
right.
called Islam and they are not. And look at it right now, how Britain is so open, like what we're talking about here. It's so open that it's being taken over. London has been taken over now.
It has.
You're talking about the biggest owner of property.
I mean, a report just came out a few weeks ago
Yeah.
that now when you look at in terms of ethnics, in terms of, the group of people that own the largest number of properties. So when you talk about property ownership in
Yes.
London,
Yeah.
Indians right now are the major stakeholders
Wow.
in terms of ownership, property ownership. So if you look at London, here in London, the people who own the most properties are Indian, not even British. And land, God is not in the business of making more land.
No.
What we have is what it is.
Yes, yes.
So, and all this we were talking about earlier about how Great Britain was going around the world colonizing
Yes.
other countries. It was land grabs.
Yes, yes.
Right now, you have in different countries. Right now, it's about what land distribution.
Yeah.
So, what you have now in the United Kingdom is a land grab.
Yeah.
So, ownership, they're colonizing the nation bit by bit, house by house, property by property, whether it's residential property, whether it's commercial property. They're taking over. And you look at companies as well. They're coming in. A lot of foreign companies that are coming in here.
Yeah.
So you see now the grip. Now Britain, white Britain, is becoming a minority
Yes.
in his own country. Even when you look at the population of white British nationals in London, a lot of them have actually moved away
Yes, yes.
out of
they are.
London because
Yeah.
it's now just too mixed that you feel like a minority in your own country.
Yes.
Yet not a single shot
Fired.
was fired.
Britain has been taken over.
Taken over.
Wow, that's really amazing. Executive
that's
Pastor Moses, we're just about to finish here
Yeah.
on this one. Please just tell us some of the things which are actually happening in the United Kingdom right now, where we look and we're saying, look, this is actually, it's not, we're not even talking about going too far. It's not even hidden.
No.
It's actually out there. It's something very open.
But there are instances where the call to prayer
Yes.
can happen in the entire community,
Yes,
the
yes,
entire
yes, yes.
street, very busy street. And everything has to be stopped simply because there's a call to prayer by the Muslims. And this does not happen when it comes to other faith. Okay, Christianity, for example, it doesn't happen. You don't have to blockade or stop an entire community movement simply because there is a prayer section happening in that area. No. So
Yes.
these are indicators that Britain actually has been taken over by a different a set of people, and simply they are not realizing it. When you talk about the property, the business, or the real estate industry, see how the Indians have taken over that particular sector.
That's right.
There's evidence enough, but they will say no. They still claim, but the
right.
reality, the facts,
Yes.
per se, whatsoever claim you have there, is totally different. So this prophetic word, if you look at it deeper, you see the reality happening on the ground in the UK. And the evidence is there. So
Yes.
we
Right.
live in the UK have to be very, very mindful of the fact that
To take
we
action. We have to
to
step
be
up.
very
Yes.
diligent,
Yes.
in that which we do also.
That's right.
We as Christians, because this thing is happening. And as you said, the spiritual first has to happen before
Yes.
the physical manifest. So these things, the spiritual, battle happening out there.
That's right.
You see the physical manifestation that this nation has been taken over. And you see churches closed down,
That's right.
change into nightclubs or been taken by Muslims,
Yes,
for
yes.
transformed into mosque.
That's right.
So what is happening?
That's
Even
right,
the
that's
very Christian backbone of the United Kingdom is being hit. Yet they are not looking at it from that perspective.
Yes.
So it's important for us to understand that these things are happening, and we Christians, we are being called actually to pray.
That's
to
right.
pray that the will of God let it happen, because Britain or the United Kingdom is stand as the historical standpoint that make Christianity to go around the world. Now it's shrinking in. It's been a lot of forces
That are
coming to
in.
us because they
Yes.
look at it as a beacon of hope for Christianity at certain
Yes.
time. So now the attack is happening in the realm of the spiritual or the spirit realm, and now it's been manifesting physically. We see it in our streets, we see it in our schools, we see it in the political arena. Everywhere you go, you see there's a takeover that is happening.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
That's right.
and just as we are, rounded up.
Yeah.
But when we talk about property ownership, not only do you have the increase in ownership, in property ownership by what used to be minority, or rather foreign. When I say foreign, I mean non. I know they are British citizens in it,
Yes, yes,
but
yes.
I'm talking about we're talking about white Britishers, then the natives.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then you have people here who've settled and everything. Yeah,
Yes.
we've settled here. We're British
Yes.
citizens and everything. But I'm originally from Zimbabwe, so
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
So, but what I'm saying is, you also have not only that taking place, but you have on the other hand, again, the policies that are being introduced by this current government, where you have the white British farmers,
Yes.
or rather, let's just say the farmers, being forced by this government to actually sell their land.
Sell their land.
So not only in the urban areas or in the cities is ownership being lost,
Yes.
but also when you go in the countryside, now you have the
Yes.
farmers losing the land, being forced to lend it, even below market value.
They will try to own everything. It's just like a cousin of socialism. They will try to own everything as the state. And say, we're going to distribute to you. So don't worry. Move from other towns, come here, and the government will own all your lands.
No, Labour wants to take their land, build wind farms and try and do this net zero, which, as we all know, isn't going to work. Well, it went a step further today. Angela Rayner, who, of course, is the Environmental Secretary, leader of, I mean, she seems to be everything for somebody, which is extraordinary, has announced that farmers, this is in her new planning and infrastructure bill, farmers will be forced to sell their fields for less than they're worth if the government went, I want that field to build a house in.
And you've got a hike, I think it was double the inheritance tax, and also it's becoming impossible to even sustain because the farming industry has already been struggling. Now you have even more taxes being introduced, all this, being forced to sell, and as they're expanding, as they're building, new housing and everything that's taken place. So it's really being squeezed from both ends.
Yes.
Again.
Yes.
Self-destruction, because this is the government that is actually bringing this one in.
Yes.
And you think, to what end when you have the king now celebrating Ramadan?
Yeah, instead of actually sending out messages concerning Lent, and as the Queen will normally do, he was busy wrapping up presents for to be distributed for Islam. And there's a lot that is taking place, and it's heartbreaking to see a nation which once ruled the world simply because of Christianity. I strongly believe, and our men of God has actually taught us this, that there was an expansion of the United Kingdom simply because they were actually distributing Jesus around the world.
That's right.
But right now, what is actually taking place, it's literally imploding.
That's right.
And it's being taken over. Why? Because there's been a transgression, the turning away from God, which is bringing about this kind of result.
Yes.
And we're seeing it everywhere. And it's really, really, heartbreaking to see what is happening.
That's right.
Really heartbreaking.
It is.
And we are going to be back really to actually go deeper on this because there is a lot that is taking place as we speak right now. The laws are changing in favor of other religions. I like the analogy which you use there, saying you put somebody in your car and then they start telling you, I do not like this, I do not like that, I do not like... Why? I'm the one giving you a right.
Right.
You should be more grateful and trying to actually integrate.
Yes.
And integration does not mean that you are
making yourself at home.
you force your will. No, it's not. So the question is, after you've heard all this, which we've been talking about here today in this program, The Perspective, it is very important, therefore, for every believer, for every Christian to rise up. If you are a Christian, you're watching this and you're based in the United Kingdom or whatever country where you see that your rights as a Christian are being chipped away, it is time for every believer, for every Christian to rise in schools, in communities, and get involved. Let's get involved in this leadership. Let's get involved as councillors, as mayors, as MPs, even as prime minister. It is very important that we put and strategically position ourselves in these places of influence so that we can also have a voice and have people who can represent Christ in those high levels. It is very, very important. So apart from you just praying, make sure you get involved. This is The Perspective, and we are not out of good news. We are just out of time. See you again for yet another episode of The Perspective. God bless you and stay connected.